Working out hard every day to be the best I can. I shifted to the right, shifted to the left, hunker down low and reach high to the sky. I got my rhythm down pat, so they say. I'm looking like a winner in every way. So when I hear somebody say, what a horse, I know they're talking about me, of course. And I'm gonna be in that winner's circle someday. Yeah, I'm a prime example of a Tennessee walker, a high-stepping, fast-walking Tennessee talker. I'm gonna be in that winner's circle someday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of What a Horse. Today I have Mr. Chase Williams, organist, professional trainer, and congressman now.
Glad to be here. No, I'm not a congressman, no.
He's filling in for Jerry Williams while he's laid up. And we've got a program for you today, but we're going to take a short pause for our sponsors before we get into it, and then we're going to load you up. We'll be right back.
Welcome to where the 5 to 9 more than makes up for the 9 to 5. To where you check your troubles, along with your coat. And days are made, even at 10 at night. Welcome to the best time you've ever had, since the last time you were here. To old friends, new experiences, and forgotten cares. Welcome to where life moves at the speed of you. Welcome to Sam's Town Tunica Hotel and Gambling Hall by Boyd. Welcome to where you want to be.
Instead of telling you about an affordable communication service that will save you money for a rainy day, I'm going to let one of my clients from Columbia Dental Group tell you all about Host My Services.
You're not losing any service, your phone calls, you don't drop any calls, have any issues at all. They have the app where if you have an off-site person, they just have the app on their phone, they can use it from there. Like, you should definitely get a quote, because even buying a whole new phone system is cheaper than what you're going to pay for with Verizon or AT&T or anybody else through them. And the quality is great.
Just the customer service.
Customer service, I talked to him.
There's two things to remember when checking out Host My Communication Services. Number one is free analysis of your current communications costs. Number two is there's no capital outlay for the equipment. Two great reasons to call 931-581-4411 today and start saving for that rainy day.
People in Tennessee are starting a movement.
Ouch. Thank you.
To clean up the litter on our roadways. Litter hurts our environment and endangers wildlife, and it affects our quality of life.
Here, grab me. Thank you.
Help keep our state litter-free.
Let's roll.
Visit NobodyTrashesTennessee.com and be a part of the solution to end littering.
Saving the best for last.
That's right. Nobody trashes Tennessee.
Folks, this is where you send money to help in the legal fund to combat the new proposed rulemaking that the USDA released here a couple weeks ago. This is tax-deductible donation as fast as a 501c3, and be sure to put legal fund on your memo line, as this guarantees that your money goes exactly where you want it to go.
Welcome back. Chase, before we get started, there's a couple of things I want to do. Number one, I'd like to give our condolences to Paulette Ferguson.
I'm gonna miss her.
Hey, I am too. She worked for me some, and always, I mean, she's always just a great person. She just, I mean, she was just a good person. She was good for the industry, and everybody that knew her loved her to death. So, but she will be missed, that's for sure.
Yes, she will be.
I just, I don't know. Now I'm gonna get on Jerry Williams. he's been laid up, and I do appreciate you filling in for him, and I know he does too. But I'm going to tell you what kind of person Jerry Williams is. When it comes to kids, now I've got 2 granddaughters and 2 grandsons. My oldest grandson, he wasn't too hip on riding a horse. My granddaughter, she was, my oldest granddaughter, she said, well, but no, I don't want to go back. My other grandson, he kind of liked it. But now, Briley, I got her to ride a horse with Olivia one time. She charged me $1. She said, I will for $1. I wanted her to get again. She said $5, and I wouldn't do the $5. But I had her out at Jerry's, and I said, you want to try riding a horse? And she finally agreed. But I want you to watch. Now, this is Jerry Williams' tactic. The longer this video goes,
the more she wants to ride a horse.
Right, and the further away from her that Jerry gets, but he's still in control and talking to that horse. And I watched him out there, and I seen what he was doing. Starts off leading the horse, then he's just walking behind the horse, letting her do her thing. But I will say this, since we went over there and she rode that horse, she just got me to buy her some cowboy boots. But now she talks about going back and riding all the time.
Now wait till she puts her on about a $20,000 walking pony, and Papa's got to write a check for it. The Daddy I Want class.
That's probably coming. But you see, Jerry, he's got horses like this, and I'm saying this because anybody that wants someone to teach their child to ride,
Jerry's a great teacher.
He teaches them how to guide. He teaches them how to get started. He does the whole thing. It's just amazing, especially the horses he has. Mm-hmm. They're perfect for this. Mm-hmm. But Briley, I asked Briley, I said, you want the horse to go right, which way you going to pull the rein? She'd tell me. Mm-hmm. So,
well, you better start selling some advertisements, because she's going to want that $20,000 walking pony.
She probably won't want one better than that, I guess. But it's, everybody heard that. Call me, I need to sell an ad. I was just tickled to death, though, because at church Sunday, she asked me, she said, when are we going to go ride?
Right.
So, but she's got archery tournaments, soccer. This girl is in everything under the sun. She is a state and national archery champion.
Well, and the sad part is the people that are fighting the walking horse business would want to take this away from her.
I know.
This is what we're fighting for, is the future not only of our horses, but the future of our young kids. They want to do this.
We've got a lot of youth in this industry that they really and truly, this is what they really get into.
Mm-hmm. And you've got, I mean, look at how, I mean, she's that baby colt's responding to her. I mean,
that's Pap. That horse was named after Billy Gray.
Ah.
He's a little stud.
You know, I've got a really nice Wheeling stud colt that we're going to show this year that was born with no back kneecaps.
Are you serious?
He was born with, his name's Cab Calloway, and he grew back kneecaps. So don't tell me these animals aren't adaptive.
Well, they sure better be. She is. I'm tickled to death. I'm going to have to get her another set of boots.
Yeah.
They'll probably be show boots.
Have to get her a riding suit and all that good stuff.
Oh, boy.
So y'all make sure you send donations over here, because his granddaughter's going to want one of them high-dollar ponies.
I'm going to start a GoFundMe
right.
for me. We started an account for Jerry, which anybody that wants to help Jerry out right now, you can go to First Community Bank in Shelbyville, Tennessee. Tell them what you want to do. Give them a check. They know exactly what to do with it. They'll put it in a special account for Jerry, and I know he would appreciate it.
I know Jerry's in all of our thoughts and prayers. What led to him discovering that mass in his heart happened at the celebration right behind me in the ring in the Wheeling World Grand Championship.
Y'all was in there together.
Yeah, we were standing there together. So, I mean, my thoughts and prayers are with Jerry, and hope to see him back soon.
You know, you saying that, if Jerry and I he told me, he said, he said, God works in mysterious ways a lot of times. If that colt had not jumped up and pawed him,
They'd have found it.
they wouldn't have found it until maybe it was too late, but because they took them x-rays, they found it. So
that colt didn't just paw him. He Mike Tyson him into the rail of the celebration. I'm like, oh my gosh.
He thought he was trying to sack him is what he thought he was doing.
I mean, it was intense, but you're right. God does work in mysterious ways.
Well, we as an industry are facing some pretty tough times, but some of it that we're going to talk about today is and I look at it this way, and then I'm going to let you say exactly how you feel. I don't know if postponing this rule, I'd rather have a judgment. I'd rather have an ending.
We're going to get a judgment.
I hope so.
I don't hope, I know, because the reason why we're going to get a judgment is the law requires that when you file a lawsuit, you have a judgment on that lawsuit. The postponing it's irrelevant. It's sauce for the goose. I mean, I think that we can look at to what the judge is thinking based that he's already shot the USDA down with a motion to change venue. He said, now get out of here. And then the Humane Society of the United States tried to come in and say, we're a stakeholder. We represent all the sword horses of the world. And the judge said, yeah, take a hike. So we're going to have a judgment. I was hoping that we would have one before the end of this month, but with this postponement signed by the Trump administration, it could be into February before we get it. But I would not lose heart. Something I want to point out is, I listen to all the comments and watch online, and I'm really getting sick and tired of people saying this is the walking horse industry's fault. Well, I want to speak directly to you people. This isn't the walking horse industry's fault. It's everybody's fault, because for the last 50 years, you and the rest of your breeds have failed to meet the requirements of the Horse Protection Act.
That's a fact.
And I'm sorry that your industry leaders did not inform you. This goes all the way back to 1969, when all horse shows were governed by American Horse Shows Incorporated. They knew, and then when it got taken over by the United States Equestrian Team and then wrapped into the United States Equestrian Federation, they knew that the Horse Protection Act was a law and they needed to comply with it, and they failed to do so. And then you have the American Horse Council, their executive vice director, Julie Broadway, on a podcast called On the Rail 2 weeks ago saying, well, we just don't know what's going to happen. Well, she's a rank liar, because she and Jay Hickey have been involved in this discussion going all the way back to 2013, and it's real simple. If the rule gets defeated, what happens? Everything stays as it is.
Yeah.
We have the same subjective inspection procedure, because that's going to be determined by another lawsuit down this summer. So if I were a member of AQHA or the American Saddle Horse Association or any of these others, hire an HIO. And they go, well, how would they enforce it? HIOs have DQPs in many different states. It's a whole lot cheaper. And I don't care if this rule stands or not. I'm not hiring a non-qualified HPI when I can hire a qualified HIO that will send a qualified DQP to ensure compliance with the law.
Well, a lot of people right now do not realize, but I'm going to say this. The Horse Protection Act's been in force for over 54 years. Mm-hmm. However, every breed, every horse, the only thing that the HPA mentions is a horse. It does not mention the Tennessee walking horse. It does not mention the spotted horse. It does not mention the saddlebreds. It does not mention the quarter horse. It says a horse. And you're supposed to self-police and report their findings. Well, the only one of all the breeds that actually did that
was us.
Was the Tennessee walking horse.
And if people want to know where to go look, you can pull up Title 15 under Commerce and Trade. Notice it's Commerce and Trade and not Agriculture.
Yep.
Chapter 44, the protection of horses, and then you go to Section 1821, definitions. And in those definitions, it says any limb of any horse. It doesn't say any limb of a walking horse. And it says that, the act of soaring or violating this law applies to walking, trotting, or otherwise moving. So explain to me, learned scholars, how you conflate that to mean that this is only a walking horse issue. It's not, because the fact of the matter is the United States government knew about abuse that was going on in the other breeds in the 1960s, and you can find it in their findings of fact in the original discussion of the Horse Protection Act. All you have to go is go to the Library of Congress and pull that up.
Right. And one other thing, he just read it. It said walking or trotting.
Walking, trotting, or otherwise moving. And
moving forward.
Title 15, Chapter 44, 1821.
People have said, well, you can't do this to a trotting horse. Evidently you could. They included it in the HPA. So,
because there were some findings of fact that Joe Tidings brought up regarding trotting horses. I mean, at the end of the day, the whole reason why the HPA happened has nothing to do with Tennessee walking horses. It had to do with the fact that Senator Tidings was a hunter jumper guy, and they got upset because in the 60s, we were selling some of our walking horses that didn't make show horses up into the Virginia and the Carolinas as jumping horses. Everything in their finding of fact is not what people, I've never, ever in my entire life heard of a walking horse trainer wrapping piano wire around the lower leg of a horse and then putting quilts over it. Now that's in the congressional record. I've heard of a lot of hunter jumper trainers doing that in the 60s and the 70s, but never a walking horse trainer. So it is what it is.
Well, for years and years, and this is where we're at now, the rocks have been thrown at the walking horse for one reason. We were the only one following the HPA in reporting. So here comes the USDA. Well, they're showing a lot of abuse. Well, it looked like a lot of abuse because nobody else was admitting what was going on. Well, they was hiding it.
Well, the problem is if you look at the DQP compliance numbers versus the USDA compliance numbers, and you take into consideration that the USDA is checking a fourth of what the DQPs check. So 35% non-compliance at the celebration when they only check 600 horses versus the 98% compliance when the DQPs are checking 9,000 horses, because the USDA is lobbying everything is an HPA violation even when it's not.
Well, you're missing one other point too. Every time they come to a show, and all these other breeds need to get ready for it, they're going to ask you for their entry forms. They want all the information. And then, even though they got the information right in front of them that they can look at and read, they decide to give you a ticket. They want you to stand there and give them the information again.
I tell them to take it off the
Well,
sheet.
I've watched trainer after trainer say you got the information and that's all you get and go on back. I don't blame them. The Humane Society has got such a toehold on the governmental department, the USDA.
That's correct.
It's not funny. I've read things that the Humane Society has posted and said, and then, Lord behold, they end up in a statement that the USDA is making.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know from Freedom of Information Act request back in the mid-2000s when Rachel Cesar was there, that there was an active line of communication between Keith Dane and Rachel Cesar and Kevin Shea. Now, these people are all about to lose their jobs because I really believe that Brooke Rollins means business when she says we're going to save American agriculture. And seeing that the number 2 person at USDA, Judge Vaden, he's from Tennessee, he knows walking horses. I think that we're pushing in an open door to settle this once and for all time, and it's going to have to come to the courts.
It has to.
It has to.
I mean, I'm thankful that President Trump got elected. I voted for him.
I voted for him 3 times.
However, he cannot abolish a law.
No.
It has to be done in a court of law, and that's what I hope everybody realizes.
Well, you've got Western Justice going out there saying, at first they wanted to work with the industry to rewrite the regulation. Now they want to repeal the HPA. Number one, you don't have 3/4 majority in the House and the Senate to repeal the Horse Protection Act. Number two, the Humane Society over the last 2 years has spent over $1 million. OpenSource.com, they gave $223,000 just this past year to Democrats, $86,000 to Republicans, and over the last 5 years, it's been over $5 million. We don't have that kind of money to buy that. So even if we were successful in getting the HPA withdrawn, the whole thing, we're not going to be the ones rewriting this law. It's going to be Humane Society of the United States. So we don't need to open up that Pandora's box.
No.
We can attack the regs and we can rewrite the regs, and that's where this fight, we need a Horse Protection Act.
We need a Horse Protection Act that is honest and just.
Correct.
For everybody. And I watched the USDA and what they say, and over the years, they say one thing, and I'm going to use this as an example. Read what we've got on the thermography, on how it's supposed to be used.
Okay. In human medicine, thermography is performed under very controlled environmental conditions. In veterinary medicine, unfortunately, that is not always possible. But even in the field, standards can be followed so that reliable thermograms are produced. Factors that must be controlled are motion, extemporaneous radiant energy, ambient temperature, and quantification of the thermogram. Motion can be controlled by immobilizing the horse in stocks, which also provide a safe working area. Then it goes on to talk about to reduce the effects of extraneous radiant energy, thermography should be performed under cover, shield from the sun. Thermography preferably should be done in darkness or low-level lighting, ideally when the ambient temperature should be in the range of 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, but any temperature below 30 degrees Celsius and 86 degrees Fahrenheit is acceptable. Heat loss from sweating does not occur below 30 degrees Celsius, as radiation and convection are responsible for heat loss below that temperature. The thermographic area would ideally have to be steady, uniform airflow so that erroneous cooling does not occur particularly. The horse should be kept in from drafts. Likewise, the horse should be allowed 10 to 20 minutes to acclimate to the environment or room where the thermography is performed. Directly from Dr. Tracy C. Turner, who developed this.
Now show the video from Alabama. This is outside. You see the sunlight. They did pop over into the shade. But these horses are coming up one right after another, so there is no 20 minutes to adjust. It's ridiculous. In other words, they tell you one thing and they turn around and do another.
And that's what we've been trying to tell people in the comments of, I got into it on TikTok with a dressage girl, hunter jumper girl. She's like, HPA questions answered by me. Who spent an hour reading it? Honey, child. I've lived under this my whole life. And what the USDA tells you in black and white versus what they're actually going to do in the field are night and day different. That's the problem. The individual inspector has way too much authority in interpreting these rules and regulations when the law does not grant them that.
Well, we're going to be taking a commercial break in just a second. And when we come back, we're going to be showing you videos of training that was done by the USDA.
That they don't do anymore.
Right, they don't do it anymore. At one time, the DQPs and the HIO, they would simultaneously train them both to where they were basically on the same page. But they did not certify the DQPs.
No,
they certified the HIO, then the HIO would certify the DQP. Yep. But even their training that we're fixing to show, you're going to see things in there where Dr. Reimer, who is now ahead of the
VIVO
HPA,
coordinator.
He was there during the training, but you'll also see later in the program Dr. Reimer when they gave a second opinion, that he'd be overrode by Baker, who is no longer with us. He went back to the zookeeping, I think.
Yeah, and he is actually retired from the government.
And then retired. But now Reimer, who was overrode by Baker several times during, I think, 2017,
16, 17, yeah.
Yeah. But we're going to take a short pause for our sponsors. We'll be right back with more video.
Today, right here in America, a shocking number of our neighbors are facing hunger. There is enough food to feed all of us, but still millions of people face hunger every year. And in Black, Latino, and Native American communities, the challenges run deeper and hit harder. It takes courage to ask for help. It takes all of us working together to make sure no one goes to bed hungry.
Feeding America is a nationwide network of 200 food banks and 60,000 meal programs. Together, we are the nation's largest domestic hunger relief organization.
The Food Bank Network and our partners are hard at work in your community and thousands just like it, rescuing healthy food and keeping it from landfills, focusing on the hardest hit communities, making it easier for everyone to get the fresh food they need, and uniting a movement that will bring about lasting change. All of this makes a difference for our neighbors by providing more meals today and helping create a hunger-free tomorrow. But we can't end hunger without people like you. Join us. Visit www.feedingamerica.org to find your local food bank. Volunteer to help get meals to your neighbors. Raise your voice to advocate for stronger food assistance programs. And donate. Every dollar helps provide at least 10 meals. Together, we can create an America where no one is hungry. Together, we're Feeding America.
Hey Tennessee, Ross Chastain here, the guy who likes to smash watermelons on the front stretch at Nashville Superspeedway. But you know what I never smash? Safety rules. Racing's all about control, and the same goes for life on the road. So use your melon and don't mix drinking and driving. It's like trying to race with a busted engine. Be a pit crew hero, and if you've had a few, pass the keys to a sober friend, because we're all racing toward a safer Tennessee, and we want you there at the finish line.
Folks, this is where you send money to help in the legal fund to combat the new proposed rulemaking that the USDA released here a couple weeks ago. This is tax-deductible donation as fast as a 501c3, and be sure to put legal fund on your memo line, as this guarantees that your money goes exactly where you want it to go.
Okay, welcome back. We had just mentioned Reimer, so I want everybody to know something. Right now, Reimer was overrode several times by Baker, I think we got video of that.
Mm-hmm.
And now, Reimer is under investigation.
Criminal investigation, soon to be.
He right there he is when Baker was there. Baker was over, and he, of course, you can tell he just doesn't like being overrode. See, he's got his arm crossed, he's shaking his head like he's right and everybody else is wrong.
Yeah.
And isn't he the one that was the instigator about stopping the more or less the working together training to DQP?
Remember, Aaron Reimer is the reason why. For years, the USDA and the DQPs always held joint training. And I've had horses involved in that, where they say, we want you to bring horses that are in, and we want to bring horses that are out. No one's getting in any trouble, but this is a learning experience. The USDA has not done that in at least 5 years, maybe longer, because they wanted to say that the HIO system was irretrievably broken, which is a bold-faced lie.
Well, now they're training HPIs virtually. They're not even doing it hands-on.
And you can't.
But now, here's Reimer. He's under investigation now. He's supposed to already testify.
I liked him better with the beard. He looks 12 right there.
Well, I'm going to tell you that what's going on right now. He
doesn't know anything about horses. He's never held a vet license. He failed the state boards. He's a primate vet. So what did he do? Rather than study and go back and take his licensing exam, he went to work for the USDA.
Well, that's what a lot of these HPIs are going to be. But we've got a video here that there's audio on it, but I want you to watch it and listen very carefully to what is being said. This is the USDA's demonstration of inspections.
Roll it.
Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Autumn Monk. I'm going to go ahead and do a demonstration of the measurements that we do during an inspection at the shows. So we start on the most lateral aspect of the hoof. So I'm going to, of course, greet the horse, come down. I'm already eyeballing where my most lateral aspect is. I know where I'm going to see it. Pardon me, everybody back here, but I'll do both sides in case there is. I bend down. I'm measuring from the ground, my level surface, to the most lateral aspect of the hoof. I go to the coronary band. So I do that side measurement, then I come on up to the front, and I'm measuring the toe, going from the coronary band, following the natural slope of the hoof, and I'm going up here. She's in. It's over 7 1/4. I had 6 1/4 on the heel. We're over, equal to or greater than 1 inch. We're fine. I'm gonna just go ahead and go on to the other measurement of the 50% rule. Is everybody good with that? So, for me, what I start with is I measure the package first, just because it's easier to double up than it is to divide. So, for this measurement, and I've made sure that the leg is on a flat, solid surface, I am not measuring the shoe. I am measuring the package. Then I go from the tip of the toe, the coronary band, where the hard meets the soft, and it's compliant. It's very compliant. Okay? Any questions on that?
Yeah. So if he's on a shoe on the bottom or a piece of rubber on the bottom, you're not measuring the bottom piece.
That's correct.
But if you double the rubber,
If you,
Yeah, I got it.
if yeah, double, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
The other measurement that we're doing is the hoof band, the top of the hoof band to the coronary band. And I have a little, it's easy device. I like to make it quick so I don't keep you in the inspection area longer than you need to be. This is exactly a 1/2 inch. All I do is place this on the top of the band. Does not hit the coronary band. We're compliant. Thank you very much. You're good to go. Any questions?
you want to repeat on this?
Sure. Same thing. I'm going to greet the horse. I'm going to do the heel toe, right? Taking my measurement as I'm greeting and touching the horse. I am coming down. I'm already visualizing where I'm going to do, so I'm not fiddling down there with the horse, taking up time. Again, the horse is on a flat, solid surface. I measure from the ground to the most lateral aspect of the hoof. All right. Then I'm going to come up, and for the toe, I'm measuring from the coronary band, the slope of the hoof, the natural slope of the hoof wall, down the package, and to the hard surface. You have 1 inch, compliant. Okay? Again, the rule is 1 inch or greater. That's for the heel toe. We have the 50% rule. 50% rule. We are not measuring from the ground. We're measuring above the shoe to the toe. I have that measurement. I then go from the tip of the toe to the coronary band. You are really close, but you've done your numbers and you're compliant. Okay? Now we do the hoof band. We're measuring from the top of the hoof band to the coronary band. I have measured this. This is just a quick, handy little device. It's exactly a 1/2 inch. So we go, reach down, place it on the top of the hoof. And again, you.
What about the other one?
Ooh, that is, that'd be really close. The benefit does go, but I would advise you to be very careful with that.
So I'll demonstrate our inspection process. I'm not going to have the horse walk a figure 8, but normally, yes, that is part of our inspection process. So we're gonna approach from the left side of the horse. And the first thing we're assessing for is inflammation. Is there anything going on back there? Once I've determined that there is no inflammation, you'll see that the DQPs and VMOs are checking for SCAR rule compliance. So I've checked for SCAR rule, and this particular horse is fine, but I'd like to show you for those who had asked about flattening out a ridge. So this is my hand that I typically am gonna hold. So this is the one that I would be looking for. So I would use this thumb. If there was a cord here, I would use this to pull this skin away from that cord to try and flatten it out. And I would use this to run across perpendicular to it and then run along it this way. So that's what we mean by flattening out with our other hand. So once I've done that and I've determined that this foot is compliant with SCAR rule, I'm gonna do my assessment for reaction to palpation. So our pattern again is our inverted U's from left to right. As I move back to the left, I'll make a smaller inverted U until I cover the entire posterior aspect of this pastern. Then I move to the fetlock and I do a vertical line from the fetlock down into the pocket. So at this point I would move the foot forward. For those that were asking about how to determine where the posterior aspect is and where it starts to move into the anterior lateral, so everything my hand is touching right now is posterior. Anything else that my hand is not is anterior lateral or anterior. Move the foot forward and let it rest. So I'm doing palpation first, left to right. And I start at the coronary band, all the way around and come back, and I just keep moving up to the fetlock. Last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check for SCAR rule on the anterior part. And all I'm doing is running the flat of my thumb at the coronary band. You may see some of the VMOs and DQPs, they may put the foot down and do it this way. It's the same thing, it just helps our backs. It's a long night inspecting. Yeah. So you may see that as the night goes on that they set the foot down. That's perfectly fine as well. And then I'm gonna repeat it on the other side. So again, checking for SCAR rule to figure out what's posterior. You would lay your hand here. Anything that's not touching my hand is anterior and anterior lateral. So check for SCAR rule. If there was a ridge or a cord that I was concerned about, I'm going to use my hand that's bracing the leg to pull the skin perpendicular to it, and I use my palpating hand to run across it. There isn't one here, but I wanted to demonstrate for you all, okay? Do my palpation, left to right. So starting left, moving to right, then I go back to the left and I make smaller inverted U's until I cover all of this posterior aspect. Then I do a vertical one from the fetlock down into the pocket. Move the foot forward. Now on the front, I'm checking for palpation first, and then I'll assess for SCAR rule. So to demonstrate, I'll do it on the front if we get a reaction. So I'm starting here. If I would get a reaction here, I'm going to finish my pattern all the way over, all the way up, and then I'm going to go back to that spot and check if it's repeatable and consistent. If it reacts again, that's 2 out of 2, it's repeatable and consistent. If it wouldn't move when I go there, I'm going to work my way away from it, and then I'm going to go back to it and check it a third time. Okay? No, we're not. We are not I repeat, we are not doing this. And it was always just like the standard palpation.
No, we've seen that in the field, Doc. That's the reason I just...
Yep. The last thing I'm going to do is assess for scar rule at the coronary band. I'm just running the flat of my thumb right at the coronary band. Again, we can set the foot down and do that.
Okay. Number one, we're not doing this. Too many videos
of them doing that.
Them doing that. I mean, this is what gets me. They say one thing and do another. And
Representative Comer, can you please censure Dr. Aaron Reimer for being an idiot? I mean, is that possible?
Probably. Now, that was from 2018.
That was the last joint training session they had.
Now, we had another clinic in 2019, and we're going to go to it right now.
Roll it.
So I'd like to cover the inspection process. With regards to the main part of the inspection, there are no changes this year. Our assessment for scar rule is the same. The palpation you see, the DMOs doing your inspection, that's the exact same. There's just going to be some changes with regard to second inspections, but done by the USDA and post-show inspections. We'll cover those once we get through this. I'm going to skip the actual video of the inspection process because we are going to take you all out into the barn and demonstrate it using live horses. So just for sake of saving time, I'll walk you through what the process is and then we'll demonstrate it using horses. The video, it won't be loaded in the PowerPoint, but it's actually already posted to our website. So we have both a padded or performance horse inspection and a flat shot inspection on our website. So, some of y'all may have had this happen last year. The DCPs and the DMOs do have hind limbs. They usually do that as the horse is walking the cones. Under the Horse Protection Act, DQPs are required to examine the hind limbs of any horse that's exhibiting lesions on those rear limbs or exhibiting unusual movement. We did have, I believe, 2 horses last year that were issued tickets because they had lesions on their rear limbs. What type of lesions? I'm not sure. I'd have to get with the HIMC. I just don't remember what they exactly saw. I just know they did issue tickets for some things they saw behind them last year. So the first thing our VMOs and DQPs do when they pick up the limb, they're assessing for inflammation. Now there's 2 parts in the Horse Protection Act that inflammation comes into play. You're all probably familiar with it under the SCAR rule, section 1123. But it's also referenced in 11.1, which is the definitions. So inflammation comes into play under the definition of sore. Okay. So when we're looking for inflammation or active inflammation, we assess it, and if we identify it, we actually term that horse sore. And I'll show you why on the next slide. It actually is in the definition of sore. Okay. Moisture, the blood, and exudate does not have to be present for it to be considered inflammation. Most of you are probably more familiar with the term open lesion. You probably heard that more often than inflammation. Last year we pushed for the DQPs and the VMOs to change their terminology to more align with what's in the Horse Protection Act. The criteria has really always been the same. They were always looking for the same thing, but we just referenced it as open lesion. That is active, ongoing inflammation. And so when we talk about inflammation, it's really synonymous with open lesions, which is probably what you all are most used to hearing. Another note, when we get to the actual definition, when we're assessing and we identify inflammation, it does not have to palpate sore. or in other words, when we're palpating, regardless if the horse reacts, if there's active inflammation, it's meeting the definition of sore.
I'll start here and go down this tendon and palpate that tendon and make sure he's not sensitive there. And then I use what the USDA calls inverted U whenever I check the back of the pastern, and I use enough pressure to blanch my thumbnail, and I go around and I make sure I cover every spot on the back of that pastern. I bring a foot forward, let him relax. I always like for a horse to relax. If they're tense, you know, they tend not to act very good. And start my palpation. I go from one side to the other, all the way around. And I come all the way up the pastern on the front of the foot. And I also make one pass around to make sure I don't feel any abnormalities around the front of the pastern. I'm going to repeat that on the right side. Okay, as far as I'm concerned now, this horse is okay.
All right. I can't help but look back at the way
it used to be, the good old days.
The good old days, and during the beginning of this one said, the first thing Reimer said was no changes this year. And we all know that there was multiple changes during the year. So there it is. We're going to take a short pause for our sponsors, and we'll be back with some more video and some more surprises.
Stay tuned.
That's it. We'll be right back. The Tennessee Walking Horse is rapidly becoming the horse of choice when selecting a great ride for the family. If you're looking for a smooth, easy ride on the trail that will take you through hills and streams or an obstacle course competition, the versatility of the Tennessee Walking Horse will stand out by showing its willingness to learn and its smooth, easy, steady gait through the course. If it's a competitive show horse you're looking for, the Tennessee Walking Horse is the perfect family horse by young and old. Whether it's flat shot or padded performance classes for an amateur adult or youth, a walking horse is the horse of choice. The Tennessee Walking Horse is perfect for every equestrian division. Also remember one simple truth.
If you ride one today, you'll own one tomorrow. That's a fact.
Folks, this is where you send money to help in the legal fund to combat the new proposed rulemaking that the USDA released here a couple weeks ago. This is tax-deductible donation as fast as a 501c3, and be sure to put legal fund on your memo line, as this guarantees that your money goes exactly where you want it to go.
More of What a Horse coming up.
Welcome back. I want to point out something. Measuring 50-50, heel to toe. And they first thing they said, they put it on a level surface.
At the horse show, half the time they don't.
I've seen them turn down, especially over Tag Center, they turned down a guy. that turned him down inside, took him outside, and Tim Hatfield measured him outside on a level surface, and everything was cool. That's when they went back in and changed the writing on the. But Tim had already signed it, and he said that wasn't on there when I signed it.
Well, I mean, it's like the reason why the USDA said that, you know, if you're turned down in one class, you're turned down for the whole horse show, because we had horses that were turned down one class and 20 minutes later they were passed.
Yeah.
So every time the USDA gets caught, they change the rules.
Right there's an example of why you got to be very careful. Now, both of those were sold, and both of them, people use both of them. But everybody needs to realize that all measuring tapes do not measure alike. You need to look at it, especially at the beginning, because that's where most of the problems come in.
All measuring tapes are not created equal.
It's like, I will not mention names, but there was a lady that went out and bought a brand new 6-ounce action device for her horses, and then went to the show, and she won. And then they measured the action devices that were just bought, and they were just a tad over. And she said, but how can that be?
The grease on the action device.
Purchased. No. Now you know how much a strap weighs. They didn't measure the strap. But I mean, sometimes violations are just.
To be fair, the law does say the action device and the strap have to weigh under, maximum 6 ounces.
Right.
The issue is the USDA a lot of times doesn't take into consideration that the grease that we use in the show ring is going to add, they don't even let you wipe it down.
I have seen them let them wipe it.
You have?
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
I've seen them do that at the celebration, which to me, that's not a break. It's just a
common sense.
Common sense that you clean it before you do it. We got some more video, and we're going to talk over this because it's just video that we've taken that of the clinics and things. So go ahead and show that, CJ. This one right here was up in the in Cooper Steel Arena now.
I remember this.
But my thing is this. This is the kind of training that the HPIs are getting now.
Well, see, neither one of these horses are in violation of the SCAR rule.
No.
It's saying it's compliant, but I've seen them turn horses down with feet just like this.
Well,
which is it?
They've turned them down with scars up around their knee, which were field scars, even with the paperwork from the veterinarian.
SCAR rule compliant, palatable ridge with indistinct edges that will not flatten, ridge covered in hair. But I mean, why is it saying these are compliant when they ride up the horses like that?
Well, as we both know, they point out one thing and do another. But what's really upsetting me now is the HPIs, the way they're being trained, and then they say that they're going to have APHIS may hold up to 2 on-site 3-day HPI training annually in the fall or winter. Now, we may do that, but we're going to do virtual training.
Well, but they're training
to certify.
My sources in D.C. have already told me that they're using videos that are supplied by Clancy, the Humane Society of the United States, and and some videos the USDA's taking, which is all propaganda anyway. So these HPIs they're coming to your horse show. Now, that's a SCAR rule violation right there. I mean, that plain as day. But these HPIs are coming to your horse show loaded up with propaganda in their mind, and they're not coming there to actually apply the law, but to apply a political ideology.
Well, here's going to be a major problem. The show manager is in charge of selecting, hiring, and paying whoever the HPI is. I've sent a request for the HPI's list of them.
You're show manager.
And I have other people that have told me they have done the same thing.
No one's gotten them yet.
And nobody's got one. Now,
that list was supposed to be made public by the middle of January.
That's fact.
And it hasn't been done. And of course, with them postponing this.
But according to them, they've got all these people that have applied. Now, that was on the virtual.
Yeah, there's 88 people. I mean, I'm sorry. If I were a show chairman, I don't care what the USDA says. I'm going to continue to hire my normal HIO because I know they know what they're looking for. And if there's an issue and I have to go to court as a show chairman, the judge is going to ask, well, did you do everything you could do to ensure compliance with the act? Yes, Your Honor, I did. Here it is.
Well, we've proven that for what, over 50 years.
This
and
horse
we're
should
the
not
only,
have been turned down. There's nothing wrong with that horse.
That horse was turned down.
I know he was.
And there was 29 others the same way.
And these horses all had biopsies done on them, and there was no granuloma. There was no sign of scar at all.
None.
And no inflammation. So the horse is fine, and I don't care that Dr. Johnson says he can detect a scar 1 to 2 cells thick. Well, so can a microscope, dude.
Well, I'm going to tell them all this. And the other breeds that are for years have looked at us.
This is horses they're turning down right here.
Y'all need to get ready for it.
Well, they do need to get ready for it, and they need to reach out to an HIO. I had one person who's a member of AQHA say, well, we have inspectors that check for TAC, and they do the USCF drug stuff. Could they become an HIO? Well, yeah, they could. I mean, and people think, well, but how does the HIO, how do they enforce? Well, they've got DQ, like Curtis Pittman's got DQPs in 5 states.
Yeah.
So a show HIO's got DQPs in 10 states. So if you're calling to sanction, they're going to find the DQP that's closest to your show. That way it's not an undue cost on your show. The HPI system is meant to do one thing, put you out of business.
Well, it's another way for the government to step in because they've even said that they will still come to shows.
Well, they're going to do that anyway.
So you're not, what they're saying is we're still going to come to shows. We will still override what they do if we don't like what they do. Mm-hmm. That's what really bothers me because they want veterinarians, but there's other people out here that when it comes to actually knowing a horse, there's people out here that have
I know
college that knows more about a horse than a lot of the VMOs that we've seen at horse shows.
I mean, there's 2 tiers of HPIs. There's one that, of course, that are vets. The others, the tier 2 is equine veterinary techs or DQPs that have not had a letter of conflict.
Yeah.
And I know DQPs right now that they have stellar records. I mean, on paper they are perfect, and they cannot get a call back.
Well, I know one that applied that he is in saddlebreds, he is a trainer, he is a farrier, he knows horses inside and out, and they said he didn't qualify.
Correct.
I would lots rather have him.
Because these HPIs are a political arm. That's what they are. They're coming in there and they're being fed to them by the Humane Society of the United States, the American Horse Council, the AAEP, the AVMA, and all of these people are taking money from HSUS. Sorry, Julie Broadway, you're a rank liar.
All right. We are going to have to close with that. Since you called her a liar, I'm going to have to get off of that. Now, she ought to tell the truth. All of them ought to tell the truth. Let's just be honest and get this done and let the courts settle it.
Absolutely.
We'll see y'all next week.
Working out hard every day to be the best I can. I shifted to the right, shifted to the left, hunker down low and reach high to the sky. I got my rhythm down pat, so they say. I'm looking like a winner in every way. So when I hear somebody say, what a horse, I know they're talking about me, of course. And I'm gonna be in that winner's circle someday. I'm a prime example of a Tennessee walker, a high-stepping, fast-walking Tennessee talker. I'm gonna be in that winner's circle someday. Please start talking.